This is the stuff dreams are made of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel. And you're listening to the original movie props podcast, brought to you, as almost always, by Heritage Auctions, ha.com. Your home for some of the most amazing, not just movie prop auctions, movie poster auctions, movie poster art auctions, and basically anything else you've ever wanted.
Or didn't want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not interested in coins. I got to be honest. I don't care for coins.
I like coins.
Really? Okay.
I'm a numismatist.
Are you? Oh.
Yeah. I did. That was one of my early collecting. My grandmother did those penny books where you could go from like the first penny, like the 1909 VDB, all the way up to, the mid 1980s, whenever they were from, and all the little steel ones from, the world where we would search through jars of pennies that she had from like relatives that I guess had passed away or whatever, and we would sift through and we would find them,
fill the books,
the D and the P and the
When my uncle died and I brought in all his books filled with pennies and quarters and whatnot and gave them to the Heritage people to say, is this anything? They tossed them back to me and said, well, imagine each one is worth 1 cent and multiply it by the number that you have.
Yeah. No, it was not a pursuit.
Right. You were
of something.
Fascinated by it. You were fascinated
Correct.
by the.
And I've always liked the idea of like ancient coins, and I always hover over them when we go to museums. I would love at some point to have
I agree with the ancient
a Roman coin.
Yeah. When I was in Greece, I looked long and hard at a couple of coins that I thought were really cool in these unfortunately, vaguely touristy shops. And I didn't know whether I just didn't know what it should be.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mind being ripped off a little bit, but I didn't even know if this was like, is this even real? Yeah. And if it is real, what should it be? I just didn't. I just felt like I couldn't.
You only spent $20,000 in there. So
I bought one giant big coin. No, there was a couple of cool ones with there was one with like a Medusa on it. There was one with like Alexander the Great on it. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what you want, gods and, demigods and whatnot. So that would have been, I don't know. Anyway, heritage.com, heritage auctions, ha.com.
And I'm coming to you live from my
by the way, what a strange ad they wrote about that. That was a really weird ad that they wrote.
Yes, all before us.
Yeah,
yes.
That was all just us reading. Yeah. I like your room. I feel like you're in an episode of what's the HBO with all the women with Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman? What's that one?
Big Little Lies?
Yeah, Big Little Lies. I feel like if you got a fan so that the curtains were blowing, then you'd be a little more Big Little Lies. Yeah, exactly.
Any moment this is going to open up and there's just a bunch of Muppets behind it. So it's going to be very exciting.
Wall opens, giant yellow wall back there waiting.
There you go.
Giant yellow wall.
Oh, it's coming closer, Dave. It's encroaching upon us.
I do have one important announcement, which is not really a what's new in props, although I guess it could be, which is for those of you that listen to our 100th episode spectacular, featuring me and Ryan together in one room. You may remember the package from Australia that I thought had arrived that did not arrive, but it actually did finally arrive.
That's my new favorite package, Dave.
Yeah. 24 hours later, the package did arrive. And it was, as you'll see here in this still, these are cells from the Fish Called Selma episode of The Simpsons, featuring Troy McClure in the Planet of the Apes. What is it? The Planet of the Apes, the musical. Yeah. Dr. Zaius, that. And I hate every ape I've met, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee. They'll never make a monkey out of me. 2 cells from that sequence. I've never seen them. I mean, I've missed out on them many times. Been looking for something for a long time, and so there they are. So yeah, that was what the package.
I'm Troy McClure. Yeah. You might remember me from such films as. Can you rattle any of those off? They're so
cannot.
Good.
Yeah, but just so good. Just. Truly the best use. There were many incredible uses of the great Phil Hartman, but that may have been the best use of him ever. Truly ever. Yeah.
When you were at SNL, was he there?
Yes, he was there.
And you got to write for him?
Got to write for him.
So good.
I wish I could pretend like I knew him well. I did not. I was definitively a young kid, and he was definitively an actual adult. You know what I mean? And it was just fascinating to watch a guy come in, sort of do his business and leave. Do you know what I mean? It was like he people talk about this when people talk about Phil Hartman, and again, he always had like a sailing magazine or a boating magazine under his like arm, and just always like would come in and be like, "Hi, fellas," and just like sit down, pick up 30 sketches. He was in all 30 of them, do 30 different voices in all of them, kind of kill in all of them. Sort of find out he was going to be in like almost every sketch that Saturday, and go, and just take off. And then you'd see him, he'd be back for the rehearsals and know his lines. It was incredible, just
Wow.
truly incredible. And there are things I think of in my head, him as Charlton Heston reading the Madonna book about, remember the Madonna sex book, like him doing an audio version of that about like, I would like to, and it was just like, oh, and I'm just like biting my hand. It was so funny. And then years later, actually on Seinfeld, we got him to do like a mysterious voice on the phone, which was very fun. It was, I think, in the episode where Elaine's trying to see her doctor's chart, and we actually got Phil in to do.
Oh, great!
And that was
never
fun.
realized that's him.
So I had hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and that was a sort of a nice, sort of fun moment of kind of recording with him, and that was very cool in his milieu, the recording booth. But anyway,
you wrote that in pen, so you fake erased,
right?
Love it.
Which, I always like that episode.
That's a great runner.
And I don't know. God, I'm embarrassed because I don't know who wrote the episode. Maybe no, I don't know. I wish I could look it up, but I can't. Well, someone wrote that episode, not me. I did not write that, but I thought it was a great episode.
Fair.
Yeah. But I do have one, and so that is my official announcement. And then I do have a vague what's new in props, which is not really what's new in props, which is for those intrigued by the ongoing saga of the flood. Today, the carpeting guys from Lester Carpets here in Los Angeles, California, fine Lester Carpets, brought to you by Heritage. Lester Carpets came and they did this kind of crazy repair where they kind of, they tried to match it, but it doesn't match. A normal human being would pull the entire carpet up, whatever. But I no longer have exposed like weird gluey floor, and it actually looks like humans could live there. So there's sort of the carpet, which is one color, and then you have sort of the replacement area. And I will give credit to Chuck Costas, who said, much like my stormtrooper suit, there's the original carpet, and then there's the different colored carpet for the replica part of the carpet. Yes, exactly.
The restoration.
I thought that was a funny joke. Good. And here's a picture you can see on the YouTube of the carpet repair. And really, delightful. That's about it, because we actually just recorded last night, and we're just out of things to say. So yeah, go on, your turn. What do you got?
Well, we talked about this in our Comic-Con wrap-up episode, but I had done a commission or requested a commission when we were in Lake Como. Kevin Mao and I attended Lake Como Comic-Con together. And the great artist Simon Bisley of 2000 AD fame, the creator of Lobo, that's probably his most famous work. Favorite of mine. I just love his kind of madcap, zany. It's sort of like Barry Windsor Smith on crack, his style, and just love it. And I'd never gotten to meet him. I've been a fan of his work forever. So Kelvin knew him a bit, and you know him. I know Dave
a little bit, although I have no. It's been many many years.
Well, I mean, Kelvin knew him. He like spotted Kelvin and like, hey, did one of those. Don't know that he remembered Kelvin's name, but knew that he should have remembered Kelvin's name. But anyways, got introduced. It was lovely, and then requested a commission from him, which I then picked up at San Diego. He had asked if I was going to be at San Diego, and I said yes. He's like, great, let me spend more time on it so I can really do something good,
right? Which is fantastic.
And, so it's so great. So I have the piece. Kelvin delivered to me by hand. He was the one that picked it up for me in San Diego, and we're gonna put it in the frame here, and we'll put a real picture on
the feed. Very cool. Go a little higher. I don't know what people can see or not see. Yeah,
there we go.
Very cool. Yeah, no, he knocked that out of the park.
It's so cool. Look at that detail. Yeah,
really gorgeous piece.
Yeah. So very excited. And I'm sort of building a bit of my own kind of bizarro sketchbook in this, Dave. I've got a bunch of Conan, right?
Like
one-off Conan art. Yeah, which I think will be my thing now.
I think
And
that's a very good thing for you, dare I say, both in terms of your interest, but also, I think in a great way open to a lot of interpretation, which is kind of fun.
the
I
fun of it,
think it,
yeah.
yeah, that Bisley piece. I think what's neat is, he kind of did him as sort of a big brute, and he's thick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then other people draw him differently, which I think is part of the fun. So yeah,
Yeah. I picked up earlier in the year. I don't think we ever talked about this because it was just sort of a one-off kind of. Not that it was nothing. It was just a sort of lark that I bought. But Bill Sienkiewicz had done this rather famous. I mean, I would say popular, known "What If" cover, and it's a "What
yes,
If" Conan where he's pointing
Conan
a
with the gun.
gun
Yes,
at the camera, and it's like it's medieval barbarian Conan, or or sort of Age of Hyboria Conan pointing a revolver at the camera. It's like very Dirty Harry. It's very cool. Um, uh, so I did not get that cover, but many years later, Bill had been, I guess, commissioned, I guess, to do a recreation of it.
Bill definitely seems like he definitely gets asked to do new versions of old pieces, that his old pieces are so popular. So yeah, I don't know if he did it for fun or to sell it on purpose or if someone asked it, but it was pretty exact. I mean, again, I'd be
Yeah, and
interested.
I mean, to borrow a Dave Mandel term, dare I say, better. I just think it was I think he had done that the original cover when he was still finding his style, whereas he did the recreation in the sort of known Bill Sienkiewicz style, and I just like it quite a bit. And it was up on Heritage, and I kind of got it for a song and nothing, and I love it. And
Yeah,
so
I
that will
think
be in there as
I think
well.
in some ways because of the fact that it wasn't the actual cover, you know what I mean? I think it was kind of ignored, and it was actually
Yeah,
really a lovely piece of art.
yeah.
Yeah, really, really nice. Um,
So
and
that's been
speak and
Conan cast.
right. And
Thank you.
speaking of pieces of Conan, our guest tonight, no,
There you go.
not even
No.
close. Nope, sorry.
No. But no, we have a very exciting guest tonight. I met her I guess about almost about 2 years ago at this point, a year and a half to 2 years ago. Her name is Trina Siopy. As she says, the way you pronounce her last name is just you spell cop, which I always kept in my head. So Siopy.
Oh, C-O-P. I get you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And she is it was a producer on season 2 of House of the Dragon. She was one of our on-set producers. She works with Melissa Bernstein very closely. Melissa was our non-writing EP on the show this season. The wonderful Melissa Bernstein helped sort of the soup to nuts production of our show. Absolutely adore her. And Trina was sort of her number 2. And Trina had worked with Melissa forever in the Vince Gilligan universe. So Breaking Bad and on Better Call Saul, and then other projects that Melissa did in the kind of Vince and also kind of Mark Johnson, who was the producer that Melissa used to work for, universe. And I got to know Trina very well, and she has this fascinating background in film, and she did not start as a producer. She kind of made her way up from within in the Santa Fe film community, and she does have props DNA. And
Ooh.
when I'll let her tell the story, but I thought it'd be a fascinating listen for fans of props and of Breaking Bad, and of course, she came all the way around the horn to work on House of the Dragon. So we'll talk a little bit
A
about that
little
as well.
show I like to call House of the Dragon.
Very good. That's how I like to introduce it.
Yeah. It's a little show I like to
All
call
the time.
House of the Dragon.
But anyway, Trina's lovely. We miss her deeply. We had her for like most of the filming of the season, and then she went off to work on a new show. I don't even know if I'm allowed to. It's so secretive. I feel like every time I even bring it up, I'm not even supposed to acknowledge that a show exists. So she went off to work on a new show that she was already pre-committed to, and we miss her. She's incredibly talented and has this very like specific skill set that evades most writers. That sit on set, which was wonderful to have. And anyway, I just really like her. I think you guys are going to like her too. So
Fantastic. Let's bring her
bring her
on.
on. Trina, welcome. It's so good to have you. We previously recorded this, so we're coming at you live from my second podcast studio, which is has a different background. So it's featuring the art prints of my in-laws here in New Jersey.
They have lovely taste. I want to just throw that out there. Yeah.
They do. They do. They're
very happy to be here. The cricket's very happy to be here.
And in addition to Trina, also guesting on this podcast is Trina's cricket, who you will hear in the background singing along with our show. So, I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the intro, but Trina and I met because we worked together on House of the Dragon season 2. Trina was one of our on-set producers and a total delight. And I spent a long time sitting in dark tents with her, and then heard a lot about her career, and I was just fascinated by it. And at some point, I said to her, "You have to come on our dumb podcast because people are going to love to hear from you." And we talked about you doing props and Breaking Bad and all that. So we will kind of go through a sort of the arc of your career, but obviously because of the topic of the show, people are going to want to hear the most about your experience in props. But
that is a wild journey. I mean, in my experience, I have met many a prop person, and they are fantastic, but I'm not sure any of them, and I don't want to put words in their mouths, I'm not sure any of them were aiming towards producer, let alone eventually did or didn't become a producer. Did you know when you were in the prop world, just, I know this is sort of big picture and we'll get into the blow by blow, did you always know that ultimately you wanted to be a producer and that props or whatever was simply your journey through Hollywood, or did it come about as you were working? I'm just really curious.
Yeah, no, I think it wasn't, it was something that I thought about, but it wasn't where I thought I would get. I knew I wanted more. Let's say that. I knew I wanted more from the film industry. I wanted to learn and as much as I could and take in as much as I could. And so even when I was doing props, I was always listening to the grip department, always listening to, standing by the writers and the directors and just really trying to be involved in everything. And yeah, the producer track just kind of fell in my lap a little bit. I made a mention to a friend of mine who was a producer on the show, who is now a colleague of mine, Melissa Bernstein, and mentioned to her that I wouldn't mind shadowing her as a producer. And yeah, here I am now producing.
Oh, that's very cool.
That's so great.
So it was producing or grip. It was producing or grip. It was one or the other. Those are
grip.
often.
I will do anything. I always tell people, I'm like, you need a hole dig, a dug. I will dig the hole. I will literally do anything.
Yeah, and Trina's a whole film business family because Trina's married to a grip.
That's correct.
Oh, so that's why grip. Okay.
Yeah, that too. And if
that makes more sense.
If I don't know certain tools that they use or words, he will get very mad at me. So I have to make sure
that does track. Yeah. Yes. But Trina started her career as a stunt woman, which is like this is why I wanted to do this, because the trajectory here, touching these 3 different phases of filmmaking was stunning and staggering to me. So I mean, that's the thing. This is the sort of corner of film that I admittedly know the least about, and I'm always fascinated by. So I would just love to hear a little bit about like how does that happen, and then what was that experience like, and then how do you go from there to props?
Because by the way, I just want to throw this in. I know this from another podcast, from listening to an interview on the Team Deacons podcast with a British stunt guy, and what I learned is that the British Stunt Association, you have to like pass like a mastery of like 8 different like sports and things, whatever, and it was just all very official. And I'm guessing none of that exists in the United States of America. It just seemed like one of those things where like, yeah, I'm a stunt guy. Okay, great. I mean, I realize the great stunt people are skilled, but it does seem like here in America, you can just call yourself a stunt. It's like the two things any American can say is I'm a stunt person and also I'm a writer. Those are the 2 things you're allowed to just say.
There's definitely the ones that you'll hear like, oh, I'm a stunt person, I can ride a horse, and then they get on set and they had to put the foot in the stirrup. So I mean, it's definitely it was an interesting journey. I was in theater and I was a competitive gymnast. So obviously
that makes some sense.
I love to perform, and I love to.
Could you ride a horse or no?
Not until later in my career. That was not on my, I wasn't one of the stunt people that would say I could ride a horse, because I knew how much it would hurt when I fell off the horse. But yes, so I moved to New Mexico on a whim. I was living in Boston at the time, and I came out to visit some friends and kind of fell in love with New Mexico. And I saw an ad in the paper. This is actually how it started. I saw an ad in the paper that said, looking for background and for extras for a film. It was a Tony Hillerman film that was filming in New Mexico. And with my theater background, I thought, this could be fun. I'm going to move to New Mexico and I'm going to sign up to do background on this film. And that's exactly what I did. I packed a U-Haul, moved my shit, got here, got a job on the film. My first day on the film, I was background, but then in like 2 hours, they picked me out to be the stand-in for the lead actress. So I was kind of thrust right into the middle of it.
And was that, if you don't mind me asking, was that just sort of a height kind of dark hair height kind of a thing where great,
exactly
that's,
that. Yep.
hey,
Size
that's
and
fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
hair and skin tone. Yep. And obviously now I'm thrust in the middle, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. It just, wowed me. And so from there, I got an agent. I was doing background work. I got a few little acting gigs. I actually
And was
ended
that
up,
exclusively in New Mexico? You were just basically taking advantage of all the shooting that was coming to New Mexico.
yeah,
Gotcha.
it was really the start of the boom of filming in New Mexico. New Mexico has
Perfect timing. Yeah.
always had film here, but it's always used to be Westerns and things like that.
Sure.
But it was kind of the turning point when people thought, oh yeah, you know what? The weather's good. You got different landscapes. You can do all kinds of things here, and it's cheap. That's probably the number one reason. It's
It's really
significantly
cheap. You can just put an ad in the newspaper and say, "Hey, we need some extras and some
yeah,
stunt people." And yeah, what
yes,
the fuck? Yeah.
significantly cheaper than, let's say, LA or New York or someplace like that. And so then, yeah, I was key set PA, and on lunch break, on a film that I was working on, I was doing some gymnastics because I kept my gymnastic skills. And the local stunt coordinator, Al Godo, he picked me up and he said, hey, have you ever thought about doing stunts? Because most of our stunt women are ex gymnasts.
Oh, funny.
I said, I was a wild kid, so of course I love to do things that I probably shouldn't have done. And again, it piqued my interest, so I said, yeah. So I started training with him on the weekends, and he got me my first gig doing a fight. I was doubling Jenna Dewan in a fight with Christian Slater on a film called Love Lies Bleeding. That was my very first stunt. I broke my toe on the first take when Christian Slater slammed me into a bar, and blood was like squirting everywhere. And I wrapped my toe up and said, "Let's go, take two. Let's," you know. And that
Nice.
was kind of the beginning. The stunt coordinator said, "All right, she's tough. She can do it."
All right, so anybody watching on the live platform will notice that we are now all suddenly wearing different costumes, and one of us is in a different location. We had a British internet snafu, but it was American based. So apparently, even though I extracted myself from England and we were not in interviewing a British guest, we still had British internet problems. So we're back. We're on a solid internet feed, and we are going to complete this interview
Maybe
with Trina.
Yeah.
Possibly.
We are.
Yeah, possibly.
We're going
Without
to
the
strive
cricket,
to.
we did lose one player. Our cricket
Oh, that's very
is
very
no
sad.
longer here. So
Mm.
I will, as you answer the questions, I will just go like chirp,
chirp.
chirp, 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 and kind of just really make it very hard to listen.
Make Trina feel right at home.
Yeah.
Chirp.
So Trina, we were talking about your stunts career. So I have a couple of stunts questions. So who just very like fanny questions, but like what do you have a favorite person that you doubled or like who, I don't know, who's the biggest star that you doubled during your time
The
as a
biggest
stunt
star.
performer?
I doubled Moon Bloodgood in Terminator.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I got to
Chirp, chirp,
jump
chirp.
out of a I got to jump out of a helicopter, all dressed in fighting gear with a gun, and
Good.
I did this awesome like swing on a chain.
Oh, very
Yeah,
cool.
I would think that's probably the
Well,
biggest.
I'll tie that into then what's the craziest thing that you had to do stunt-wise, although those sound pretty good. Yeah.
No, that does not compare. Those ones were fun and pretty mellow. I would say I have top 2 crazy ones.
Ooh.
I got pushed out of a moving vehicle going about 40 miles an hour into a very frozen cornfield. And that was on a show called Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I did that about 14 times. So
And is that just you've got pads on underneath whatever you're wearing and then you hope for the best? Is that basically how that I mean, obviously, you know how to roll, you know how to, like, protect your limbs, but, like, I mean, really, you're just getting pushed out of a moving vehicle.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hope you can roll good, and, yeah, that, yeah, it is kind of a, yeah, let's hope for the best, but I think, it for I will say for men, it's very easy because almost always they can hide pads, almost always. For women, it's very rare that they get to wear pads.
Really?
Um, yeah, I
Just
mean,
Oh,
if you
wow.
think
because the
about it.
character is always in, like, a tight
Yeah.
bustier and a
It's like, "Here,
miniskirt?
here's
Yeah.
wear this
Yeah.
mini skirt, and I'm
Right.
gonna throw you down the stairs," or
Right.
or exactly, women don't like to wear loose, baggy clothing because, so that's put on the tightest thing, and then it's you don't want the pads to show because it's a bunch of post work and this and that, so, I think the only thing I had on for that was some hip pads and, elbow pads.
Jesus.
That was about it.
The
Wow.
patriarchy even gets you in the
Yes.
in the stunt double
Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, everybody.
Yeah.
I have an important Terminator question. Did you get to kill a Terminator?
I did not, unfortunately.
Oh,
No, my hilarious story about that
Wait,
is
I thought
on.
she was a Terminator. Wasn't that character No.
no,
No,
she's
she
in the
was. She was part of
Resistance.
the
Oh, she
resistance.
was a
Yeah,
resistant, okay, I
Come
thought
on.
she was
yeah, yeah,
a hidden Terminator, sorry.
yeah. I was actually very stoked on that because, again, usually I'm wearing some skimpy thing, doubling some actress, but that day I get there and they put me in camo and I got all these pads and a gun and I was like, yeah, like finally I got like a real like, cool outfit. We did one take. After the first take, the wardrobe lady comes up to me and she says, "The director wants to make a few alterations to your costume." So I'm like, "Okay." So proceeds to cut my shirt all the way around so that it's like a little half top,
Dear God.
And I'm like, "Nobody fights like this." Like, what the hell?
And here's your camo mini skirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, McG had just seen Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and he was like, I've been struck by inspiration."
Yeah.
Um, so good. So and Trina, you still do stunts from time to time, yes? You still get called up.
I do.
So
I'm
you're
known
sitting
locally.
somewhere producing at this point, and then the phone rings, and it's like, "What are you doing Wednesday?" It's like, "I'm gonna go jump out of a plane." Wow,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah, but, when I'm producing, I do turn everything down.
Okay.
I do, but I'll still take the calls, and I just when I'm not working, I pick and choose a little bit more now because I'm getting up to 50, very close. So I do wanna walk when I'm 50, and I'm known locally as the one that does all the hard ass cracking stunts. So, now I
Yeah.
pick and choose, and I will call out, "Well, that girl says she can do stunts, so let her get pushed out of the moving vehicle, and I'll sit passenger in the
So
car."
So
you're in
right now, when's the last time you did a stunt?
Just before I started the show, actually, it was for a TV series on NBC, and it was a really easy one. It was just me running through the forest getting chased at night, so
The actor couldn't run?
not like me.
Alright, fair
All
enough.
right. Good answer.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah, I like that. I like that Trina's both. She's faced in a sort of rock and a hard place situation where she's worried about being able to physically function as she moves forward in life, but she also has this reputation that she needs to keep up. So it's like it's turning down the right things, I think, and
Exactly.
having a good reason to turn them down. Or
Absolutely.
say, I've done that before. That's not hit me with something original. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been burned by a dragon before, Trina?
I have not, but I'm really sad I missed out on that because if I could have stick around with you a little longer, I feel like I would have been
Got
on
yourself in a burn
fire at
suit.
You
some
would have
point.
just jumped in at some point just for the heck of it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Have you been set on fire before?
I have.
Uh,
I'm a little weary about doing a full burn, because, it's a scary thing. If you take one breath, even just a tiny little,
yeah.
you suck flames into your lungs,
Dear
and
God.
it's a scary, and that's of course your natural reaction when someone sets you on fire. Of course you're gonna, you're gonna
Yeah.
your natural reaction. So I've done partial burns, like half my body.
Yeah. That is I didn't even realize that until we were talking to Rowley on our, because we do a lot of, as you imagine, we do a lot of very full burns on our
Yeah.
show. And that's the other than the person the actor performer consumed in fire, that's the most dangerous thing beyond just the fire
That's the easy
is
part.
that
Yeah.
the fire going on the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
So Trina, how does props happen from stunts? Walk us through that.
Yeah. So I was doing stunts and acting, and it wasn't. I want again. I told you I wanted to learn more. I love the industry so much that I just wanted more. So I approached our prop master on one of the shows that I was doubling the lead actress, and said, "Hey, I'm in the overflow list for the union. I'd love to learn about props. If there's ever a time that you need an extra body." And sure enough, a couple weeks later, he called me. Their assistant prop master was going on some river trip, so he brought me in to be the assistant prop master
Wow.
Oh,
for a
wow.
week,
So
and
just right into it. Wow.
right into it. But again, I had been standing in,
You'd
I had
been
been on
on
set.
sets. You knew
Yeah,
how a set
I
worked. So you
knew,
weren't
and
like,
I almost
yeah.
yeah, and I knew the props because I had been on that show for a couple seasons, so I kind of knew already what the job was. By the time that week was over, they had fired the assistant prop master and kept me. And then I stuck with that prop master for
Wow.
15 plus years.
What a
Wow.
fated rafting trip that was for
Yeah,
the assistant prop
poor guy.
master.
And
Yeah.
occasionally doing stunts on the same show you were doing assistant propping on, and that worked out okay, and that was
Yeah.
everyone understood kind of a thing that like,
Yeah,
well, today we're gonna set you on fire, and then tomorrow you're gonna bring the fire in for something, as a prop.
exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly that. The prop master who hired me knew that he was hiring me, as an actress and a stunt person, and that I had all these other. So he said, absolutely, you just let me know when you need days off, and he would give them off so that I could audition or go do a stunt or and just cover. And luckily, I did a good enough job that I wasn't the
Right.
rafting trip guy that got fired after a week.
Yeah.
What did you like about props? Because you didn't just do it, you stuck with it for, you just said, a really long time. So you obviously enjoyed it, you had an affinity for it, but you also enjoyed it. What do you like about that side of it, I
Yeah, I
guess?
mean, I was curious to add on to that because I think it's all part of the same question. Is what I was assuming you were doing the whole. Well, I can do stunts for that. There's a bell curve to that career. So, but I was fat because it seems like you sought out props. So, like so to add on to Dave's question, what made you was it what made you so interested in it that made you target specifically that person that department?
They have such a presence on set. I didn't wanna be just kind of in the back, or in a truck somewhere, or in a room somewhere. I liked the interaction with the actors. I liked the interaction with the director and the writer and be able to be creative and show things. And of course, every day is different. You get to learn all kinds of different props and learn how they work and show the actor how they work. Um, I think it was just what again, I wanted to be on set and be part of the action, and the props seemed to be, a good prop person is right there in the middle
Yeah,
helping every other department. So
yeah.
On this show, on whatever that first one
What was
was
that
that
first show?
on
Can you say?
Terminator? Was that on the Terminator, or was that something
no,
else?
it was a ABC Family show called Wildfire.
Oh,
It was about a girl and her horse, basically. And I just happened to be the same size, shape as the lead actress, Genevieve Cortese, and yeah, so
and so that's where you started being the assistant prop person on that. Was there a lot of were you making props, or was it more of like found items, but just obviously, the right one kind of a thing?
yeah, it was very little making props on that show. It was a lot of found items, and then of course it was about racehorses, so it was a lot of racetrack derby stuff,
Gotcha.
and
Horse things.
horse gack and jockey gack and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and do you have a, I don't know, favorite first memory of like the first thing that you got to Like, because I know people think of prop people, and there is a lot of fabrication that goes on, well in advance. Obviously, the dragon eggs that we had on House of the Dragon aren't just being, whacked together because suddenly somebody needs a dragon egg on set. But there is a good amount of improv that goes on, right? Especially on a show like that where there's horse gack and whatever, and sometimes somebody needs, I don't know, a saddlebag or something, and you're in the back with a leather puncher, quickly making a thing. Do you have a first sort of prop panic that you had to deliver something to set
Prop
for?
trial by
I
fire.
will
Yeah.
say that is, to me, when that kind of stuff happens, that's the fun part of my job. Like, it's so easy. I know, oh, great, hand a phone over, hand a file over, hand this over. But those moments when they're like, oh shit, we need this. What do you have? And if you don't have it, you can't come and say, I was taught to never say no. You never tell, nope, we don't have that. That is not an answer in the film business. It could be, well, I don't have that, but I have this. What do you think about that? You got to give something. And that's the fun part, is being able to think creatively and say, oh, well, we could do this, or we could do that, or I can make this. Let me think. Is there I'm trying to think if there's something specific that came about, I will say, like on Breaking Bad. And this isn't something that was spur of the moment, but this is something that was my idea and that I kind of came up with, and then we ran with it and it went on for seasons, was the Saul Goodman matches, the book of
Oh yeah,
matches
yeah.
that we made.
Okay.
The scene just called, I think the first time we saw it was when Walter White was setting the money on fire in his backyard in the grill. And so, as your prop job is to come up with different options for them, different matchbooks, or will it be a lighter? And you show the director and you show the writer and the showrunner and you let them choose. And one of my suggestions was, well, what if it's Saul Goodman matches? And that ended up becoming a huge, huge hit.
Part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool. You should get some kind of merchandising rights on those
Right?
matchbooks, Trina.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do they give those away? Is that I don't know, it's such a, you
It
don't think of
is.
matches, but like Comic-Con giveaway or
Yeah,
something,
that
book
was
of
a big one.
matches?
People always wanted it, and it was always too, I would bring a box to set, in the scene, there'd be, like, on his desk, there'd have to be 20 matchbooks, and, you walk away from set and you come back and there's 5 left. Like, who did it? They were a hot commodity for sure.
Yes.
Nice and small and
Yeah,
fit in the pocket. No, that's good.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Branded with the show. So I mean, so you worked on sorry, it's called Firewalker, was it called?
Wildfire.
Wildfire. You worked on that for a good while, and then
Yeah.
was Breaking Bad next, or was there an in between, or?
Right about the time we started Breaking Bad, we also were doing a show called In Plain Sight, which was an
Oh, sure.
NBC
Yep.
TV show. So I was doing Breaking Bad and In Plain Sight. So it was a full year. We'd do, the season of In Plain Sight, and when that would end, we'd start Breaking Bad.
Was
And
that mostly the whole crew moving over or just you guys?
it actually was. It was a good,
Yeah.
almost all of us, like our film family. And same with the show I'm on now, is kind of been 90. It's 95% the same people.
Wow.
When we were doing Veep, we had a good thing going in terms of we shared a lot of personnel with The Good Place, and the seasons for the most part kind of lined up. It wasn't everybody, but it was a big chunk of people. And so
Yeah.
it would kind of like, we'd end and they'd start up, and it was nice because people obviously had year-round jobs, but also then when Veep came back around, we got the people we wanted back, which was
Yeah.
good. So
And
yeah,
it's nice because you build relationships with people, and it's not like from starting from scratch and learning how different people work. Like we all kind of, became this unit, and we knew how to work together, and we were all friends, and yeah, we had a good old time.
And it's such a great thing for the show too, because one of the things that I think I'm most looking forward to in going into season 3 of House of the Dragon is that we will have the most continuity of any season going forward, just across everything. And I don't know whether that goes down to every individual person on set, but in terms of HODs and the key people that I interact with, there's so much continuity, and it just makes my life as the showrunner so much easier because I have a shorthand with everybody,
well,
and everybody tries.
that's assuming the bird flu thing doesn't happen. But okay, yeah, sure, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah,
No, you're
sure. No,
absolutely right.
there's no chance of another pandemic. We're good. We're
There are
fine.
no
Yeah,
there are no birds in England,
right.
Dave, as you know. So
Or insects, weirdly. I don't understand that. I still
just
don't.
ticks, Trina, as we know from
Yeah, lots of ticks.
David Hancock,
But
the local tick expert, David Hancock, one of our
yeah,
writers who knows more. He lives in like the tick nexus of England, and lives every day of his life just terrified of getting Lyme's disease, and thus knows all about ticks, and will terrify. If you didn't go into the room terrified of ticks, you will walk out of the room
What part of England is that?
irrationally.
Where does he live?
Well, it's
That the
down in
ticks are?
it's out sort of Surrey, ways,
Okay.
and England, because of climate change, stopped getting um, cold enough in the winters that where the ticks would have a die off, and then they would have to resurge and whatever. And because Lyme's disease is fairly new, and this is Limecast with Ryan and David and Trina. Anyway, we spent a lot of time, as you imagine, tromping around woods and high grass doing the show, and Dave was the local tick expert.
yeah.
He has tick tools
He scared the shit out of me. Every time I went back to my hotel room, I was like
yeah,
stripping down and like magnifying glass. Like,
all of us standing in
yeah,
the harsh light of the bathroom doing the
yeah.
because they crawl to the most unexpected. I pulled a tick, 2 ticks off of me during on this show, which I
Oh,
never would have even known it was there if it was not for Tiki Hancock.
off of socks or off of your actual
No, me,
skin?
like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Off body.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the bad
Oh.
ones in England are tiny. They're the poppy seed sized ones that
Oh,
Yeah, they
Jesus.
look like a little
yeah,
pinhead. You
yeah,
can't even see
yeah,
them.
and those are the ones that are most likely to give you a debilitating disease. So, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
god.
And you can't
uh,
even look it up on the internet because there's no internet there. I mean, it's
correct.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can't even
yeah,
like, what is this tick? I'll check
yeah.
Google. Oh, wait,
It
it's
says
taking
it
4
says
hours to load. Yeah.
still loading. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're re-examining like every mole you have because it's like it's a tick.
Mm.
That mole.
Um. So were you on the Breaking Bad pilot?
I was not on the pilot. I
Okay.
started because they did the pilot first season together.
Okay.
I started on season 2.
Season 2. Okay. Cool. And so what's that like? I mean, I'm always just fascinated for something like that truly is something that started and then built its audience over time, and then at some point becomes one of the most well-regarded television shows of all time. What what was the experience there? I mean, you knew you were working on something good because that show
Oh
is
yeah.
objectively good. I think the question with that show always was, is anybody going to come watch the series about
Right.
a
It's a little
murdering
depressing.
chemistry
A little
professor?
depressing. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Yeah.
selling drugs, and it's dealing with like the sort of the lowest realities of human existence in in the desert
Absolutely. Yeah, they
in
had
New
a
Mexico.
yeah, they had a really hard time finding, a studio to even back it. You send a
Sure.
script out that's talking about cooking meth and a science teacher and like in Albuquerque. Actually, it was first set to be in LA. And then I think it was
Yeah.
Sony that pitched it to be in Albuquerque, which it's fitting because
Yeah.
it just didn't. I can't imagine it being anywhere else. But I would say that Breaking Bad really made me a better prop person and a better filmmaker. Um, One, of course, the scripts were just amazing, and you work on a lot of TV shows that the scripts, it's a TV show, and so fine. But Breaking Bad, I would get excited to get the scripts and you'd sit down, and you'd go from start to finish easily because it just read that good and it was such a great show. And the actors were just all of them were great actors, but just great people as well. So that also made it. But it made me a better prop person because most shows, the props don't mean as much.
Mm.
Yes, I can hand somebody a file. They're going to walk through the screen. You're never going to see it. They're going to open a book and you're never going to see what they're reading. So it can be whatever you want. On Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, the props were another character in the show.
Yeah.
And I loved that because being able to then see your work and have some creativity in it and see how big things are and getting fans that are so excited about props, that was big. I mean, even down to all of our paperwork, all of our files and all of our books, they were real. I mean, most you do props on a show. It's like you have a piece of paper, you just write a bunch of bullshit. That's the fun part of props. You just write some shit because you hope that the actor's going to read it or someone's going to read it and they're going to laugh. but it has nothing to do with the actual story or the scene. Our stuff had to be, if it was on camera, even if it wasn't on camera, it had to be built as if it was going to be seen on camera.
Yeah.
So everything was realistic. I mean, we
That's
had
my favorite part of, I guess, the interaction with the prop department on Veep. And I may have told this story before, but like, okay, Selena's going to be looking at a photo album, and we're not specifically saying that we're going to do close-ups of the photo album, but she's going to open it. And you get on that set and you realize that our prop person has gone to Julia and gotten like pictures of her as a child, and then gotten some, found pictures of a dark-haired teenager that look like Julia, and then just like, and then not only that, but have like then, because they've been on the show, and there's and our prop person was so great, and she really just, I mean, she paid attention to every script. So it's like, well, we've mentioned that she rode horses, so now there are pictures of a little girl with a horse. You know what I mean? Or she took a trip to Cuba, and there's whatever it was, and it's pages of a photo album of which maybe there's 2 seconds of screen time, but maybe there could have been more, or maybe Julia will hold it up in a scene and go, look at this, and whatever. But that, when it's working like that, it's so wonderful because it just adds that other element of reality to it all. And I'm, obviously watching Breaking Bad, it was jam-packed of photo album like things, which was always wonderful. Yeah.
And that, again, that's the fun part. Like, if you're just going to come to do your job and just hand over a can of soda and not care, well, it calls for a bottle of water, oh well, it calls, boring, go work at Starbucks or something. If you're not gonna like actually take pride and think about it and think about the story, and like, I would do things that because you can walk onto a set. Say if you walked into Jesse's bedroom, you can shoot it as is, as our department dressed it, but as a prop person, you should be able to say to yourself, what are the things that I can put in this room to add to the set dressing? Well, Jesse has a bong. Well, his bong has to be there. Or Jesse's, his keys. Let's put his keys on the table. Let's like make it look like he actually lives there. It's not just a set.
Not just a set, yeah.
And that's the fun part. Like, be creative. That's what makes this job interesting.
Well, you could put up a House of the Dragon poster in there, Trina, because apparently Jesse Pinkman, Aaron Paul, big fan of Hot D, I understand, from
he is.
mutual friend Melissa Bernstein, which was amazing to me. So
he is. He sent me a few messages while I was over there.
Yeah. I like it. I'm
maybe you should have a little cameo and catch him on fire by a dragon.
Yeah, he's welcome.
Just a soldier sitting on the side of the road, whatever that thing is.
Aaron, if you wanna burn, come on over to Watford. We'll have you.
Did you have fun with the drugs and the drug paraphernalia and sort of the, if you will, the meth? I don't know, because obviously, I mean, talk about another character in the show.
Yeah.
You got to make a lot of fake drugs, I guess, basically. You were sort of, you had your own lab in a weird way, I'm guessing.
We did. We actually had some real meth, addicts come. I mean, this is how we got down and dirty and very specific. So we had a tech advisor that was
how to cook, basically.
Wow. Yeah. And came in to make sure that we were setting up the lab correctly, and to make sure, that the black tar heroin looked like black tar heroin. The blue meth, the story with that is when we first started doing it, it was rock candy. And it was just a little bit. You would just see little baggies of it. So I was actually the one who was making it. I was making it at home. I was, exactly.
Just like classic, like science lab project of just like sugar water on like a string or on a stick or whatever it was, basically.
Okay. Yeah, and
now that's, Trina, what you should be selling. Is Trina's little bags of blue rock candy blue meth.
We have a lady in town, the candy lady, who is claiming that she is the one who made the blue meth. And it's a huge hit. She has, fans everywhere. Well, she's lying. It was not her. We never bought the blue meth from her. It was me making it. And then at some point, I think deep in, we started doing more of it. And we did a scene where it was like, on black, and it was falling down from the ceiling. So we knew we needed like pounds and pounds of it. And there was no way that I was able to do that. So we started getting it from this place called Oh Nuts. It was a candy store. And we would get cases and cases of it. And it was like season 4, I believe, that they stopped making it. So we were stuck with just what we had left. Of course, we had a lot of it, but it gets everywhere. So we were always sweeping it up off the floor and putting it back. But Aaron Paul loved the blue meth. It was like cotton candy flavor. He loved it. Bryan Cranston loved it. So whenever it was on set, they were constantly eating it. Um, there were a few times when Aaron Paul actually snorted it. Because he was supposed to be high on meth, and he thought, let me snort some sugar and get that same, jolt of energy.
Dear Lord, commitment.
Yeah.
By the way, like, oh nuts! Did they know that they were supplying meth to Breaking Bad,
I'm not
one of the
sure
biggest
they
shows
do,
in television?
Or they
I'm
just
not
thought
sure.
somebody in New Mexico really likes our candy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
whatever.
that's
Let's
why they
discontinue it. Yeah.
discontinued it. Yeah. Yeah, they were just like, hold
Oh,
on,
Dude,
oh,
hold on.
oh, oh,
like
nuts! You
Yeah.
screwed up.
missing
oh,
out
nuts.
on
Come
the,
on. Yeah.
there's a diner out here in New Jersey where I am that lives off of the fact that, like, that's where Tony Soprano got, shot, or just and had a very abrupt credit sequence,
Yeah,
depending on
yeah.
what side you land on. You've got to like own those things as,
That's what I'm saying.
local film interest.
They
Yeah.
have no idea.
Is that a
Yeah.
real booth? So do people like want to sit in the
I
spot?
think they
Is that
sold the booth, Dave,
Oh.
if I remember correctly. But yes, it was. Yes,
But
it
there's a
was.
booth spot.
Yes.
There's a booth
Yes.
spot. That's
Yeah.
good. Nice.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
guess in my mind, and again, I know it looked like whatever sugar rock candy. I guess I assumed at some point or another that you were just like making it like that. It was like, plastic, like, like clear, like Dungeons and
No.
Dragons dice
I
or
guess that
something.
it
Yeah.
was the squishy gelatin sort of, the fake
Yeah,
the
the
fake
rubber
glass
glass.
when you do when you
Yeah.
I just guessed that's what it was. It
But
was
no,
just
it was
plastic.
actually always
I
sugar
love
cane.
that.
Oh, that's
Yeah, we had cases and cases of it.
And one thing I wanted to point out, just going back to your description of the printed props and everything having to be real and in world, that comes from Vince, right? I mean, that comes from the showrunner, and right on down.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
And,
that's an
and
important detail.
So
yeah,
all
exactly.
the
It helps
food
the
truck, the
actor.
food truck, and all of that, the
All of
design
it.
stuff and whatever. And in that situation, I assume that's where you're working with the production design office, where maybe they're doing like the logos and stuff, and then and so they're making logos, but you're making like whatever the shirt, but maybe then you're making an iron-on, but then wardrobe is making the shirt, and that's where it's sort of it blurs a little bit, and all the departments do get involved, which I think is
Oh,
really
it
always
does.
very
Yeah, you
fun.
get the
Yeah.
art department, graphics making the design, and then it goes out for approval. And showrunners, writer, director all have to be on board with this, with what it is, and then it'll go either to costumes to make, or to props to make, or both.
Right.
Depending on what it is. Yeah, it's really a team effort.
Do you have a favorite thing that you made in your long time on Breaking Bad? And did you cross over into Saul, or by then were you a producer at the point that
I crossed over into Saul as
on
props
props?
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also did a little stunts on Breaking Bad and a little
Of
bit of
course.
acting. I had a little acting part.
The full Venn diagram, Trina,
Yeah,
all three. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. There was a day that one of our actresses didn't show up on Breaking Bad, and nobody could get a hold of her. And I had a SAG card, so they threw me to the trailer, said, "Here's your lines, and we'll see you in 10 minutes." Um, so I played
Amazing.
a nurse, and I doubled Andrea, who was Jesse's girlfriend when she got shot in the head and fell off the front
Oh,
porch.
yeah.
That
Oh,
was
so
me.
you did the fall.
Nice.
I did the fall.
Nice.
Yep.
And what
Yep.
episode were you in? Do you remember? What season, what episode?
It was early. It was the scene where Jesse and Walt are in the RV and Hank shows up, and they quickly call the hospital. And the hospital calls Hank and says Marie's in the hospital. And
Oh,
he
right.
runs
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to, I was the nurse that he
He's interacting with.
with
Gotcha.
at the
Yeah.
hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what do you have going through your
Favorite prop.
the sort of shared meth universe, the meth cinematic
I mean, of
universe?
course, the meth is like, I take
Yeah,
pride in that
classic.
because that
Yeah.
was, yeah. But I also made, was that Breaking Bad? Now it's blurring lines. But anytime there was food, that was me. I was the master chef for for
Okay.
everything. So even like Better Call Saul, I made the cake pops and I made the cookies and
Oh,
I
wow.
made, I was definitely the cook per se.
So you could cook meth if you had to, Trina, is what you're telling us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So if this doesn't work out, I have something to fall back on.
There are those amazing stories about To Live and Die in LA, where the beginning of the movie starts with them making a batch of counterfeit money, and I guess it was at one point too real, and they were asked to sort of make some changes, and then they actually had counterfeit money that went missing and then showed up the FBI or whoever showed
Everywhere.
up to basically go, yeah, but I guess the meth was candy, so I guess you could sell it to a junkie, but they would soon realize it was candy.
That it
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, exactly. And,
Yeah, well, you could sell it to Aaron Paul and to
right,
Bryan Cranston.
exactly. They were
the
addicted. Yeah, they were addicted. Yeah.
absolutely. The cash, this is a good one. Whenever we saw money, I mean, granted, this when it was a lot of money, but Vince was very adamant about using real cash because the fake cash looks fake and it says for movie money or whatever. So whenever there was real money on camera, there was always it was real. It was real hundos and real. If it was a stack, it would be like real on top and
Right.
real on bottom. And then the middle would be fake. But there were
Yeah.
definitely times, when Jesse was driving in his car and he's tossing out bundles of money through the neighborhood.
And he's just throwing real.
That was a scary time. Yeah.
Are you just running behind the truck, basically just grabbing it
Yeah.
with a
And
net?
then, one would
Yeah.
go down the gutter into the drain. I'd be like, fuck, like there goes $200.
No, Dave. Sony Accounting is running behind them.
Yeah,
They had a follow car.
Yeah.
So at what point? I'm assuming this happened before you met me and my heard of my stupid podcast. At what point did you become aware that there are morons out there that collect this stuff and obsess over it?
Yeah, like when you were working on Breaking Bad, were you aware that people were starting to really like props and costume collecting, that part of it? Because
Oh, yeah.
obviously it was such a phenomenon of a show. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, we knew the fan base, we knew it was crazy because we would see, all the comments and we were getting phone calls, I was getting phone calls out of the blue like, "Hey, can I buy this? Can I buy that? I'll
wow.
give you 20 grand for this and I'll give," yeah, we knew we had some super fans for sure.
Wow. And so I'm aware of something very cool that you kept. I don't know whether you still have it, but
I do.
you did have it at once, and so you should talk about that. But then I'm also curious as to the story around choosing to keep it and all that, but also like what else did you keep? What else have you kept from those shows? So
And
go ahead.
can we offer you $20,000
Yeah.
for whatever it is, even though we don't know what it is yet? Yeah.
So
I want Trina to make me some hard candy is what I want.
I can do that. Yeah, I can say it. That's an easy one. I have a pink teddy bear that is
Awesome.
a hot commodity.
Yeah.
I've been at least 3-4 times a year. I get contacted for an offer to sell it. When it came time to wrap the show, it was 6 seasons, and that's the other thing with Breaking Bad and making me a better prop person. If you shot something in season 2, there was a good chance that it was going to show up again in
Right,
season
it could
6.
pop back up. He was going to bring it back. Yeah. So
Everything came back and the continuity on that. Like if he had a flashlight in season 2, it better be the same flashlight in season 5, unless there's a story point that it disappears. Like we were very big on making sure everything tracked and the continuity stayed without the season. So when the season ended, we obviously had a lot of shit. There were very little items that I kept. Of course, I kept a few matchbooks. But the one thing that I really wanted was the pink teddy bear. And I think we had like 12 of them.
Total.
Total. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So most of them, went to Sony Asset. That I got to keep one of them.
That's cool. And what is the story behind those? Did you guys have to have those made? Was that an off the shelf item?
It was not an off the shelf. That was made by a local person in
Did you
town.
pursue like trying to see if there was an off the shelf item first that would work, but it just wasn't what he had the vision of or what you guys had the vision of?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we got someone else to make it for us. And in fact, she still gets, I think she ended up having to change her number because they found her too. That's how crazy the fans were. And they found her and they would contact her and she started going crazy because she was custom making teddy bears for people after the fact. And now she's like, I'm not taking any more. I think she's over the teddy bear.
Done with the pink teddy bear, yeah.
Yeah, she's over it. But
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
When the show was ending, Were you around when, like, the guys, like, did they pick some stuff to take, or were they taking, like, all along, or were you around when
No,
they asked for anything in particular?
they were really good. They didn't really take anything. When it ended, there were a few items that each of them wanted. Brian wanted his Heisenberg hat, and he
Sure.
wanted a pair of his
Yep.
glasses, and those kind of things. Aaron Paul got a money clip that was his, but not much actually.
Oh.
I'm sure they're kicking themselves now for it.
Yeah.
Well,
But
sure, 'cause they'd be selling
yeah,
it. Yeah, that could be their
Yeah.
side business,
I will
yeah.
yeah,
say actors have gotten much more savvy in the intervening, like, eight
yeah, yeah,
8
yeah,
to
yeah.
10 years, because every time we kill somebody on our show, I
They
have
won't.
them standing in my office going, "I know you're into this stuff. What can I have?" The Cargill twins, this season, took home their swords. That was what they
Oh,
wanted. So they each got and they were slightly different, but matching. It was a matching set of
that's
twin
so cool.
swords for them. So, and
That's
it was the,
amazing.
Oh,
it
so
was
that
the
was
best.
actually 2 guys, not one guy doubling
He
himself.
was spinning
Yeah,
around really fast, Dave. He was just going in a
No,
certain.
no, I mean, but you know what I mean, like the way, like
actually, yeah.
in the Facebook movie,
Yes,
Army Hammer played
there was
both
one Army
parts.
Hammer.
Yeah,
Nope,
yeah.
nope.
No, there were 2
We
guys.
needed it because they had to fight each other and they had to be in scenes together and all that. It was a
Well, there's
nightmare.
scenes together
So
as the Winklevi
yeah,
twin. I'm just saying
yes,
it's
yeah.
doable, but it probably adds another $1,000,000 to the budget
Yes,
to have
it would have
one.
been,
Yeah,
it was the challenge of a lifetime to Kate Rhodes James, the great casting director. Can you find me a pair of
Actual
identical
twins.
twins that can act and can fight? And she
right.
delivered with
Yeah.
Nathan Elliott to tensor. We have other twins on the show with Jefferson Hall plays both Tyland and Jason Lannister, but they were only in one scene together thus far in the show. So that was an easier thing. So he just puts on a wig when he plays Jason, and it's when he's Thailand,
Right.
it's
So when you
his
get
own
to
hand.
them killing each other, that's gonna be an issue.
We're gonna bring back
Yeah,
the Tensor twins
yeah.
to do the job. So Trina, how does producing happen? Because I have to say, like, I only got to work with you for a very short time, but I loved it, and we adore
Oh,
you, and
thank you.
that's why you're here. But Melissa had sort of talked about you and your superpower, which I got to see in in motion on our set, which is you have this, like, I don't know what to call it, but you have this, like, continuity brain, that is like, as much as I look at things and I do the whole, can you see the difference in these two pictures? No, I don't see the difference in the picture at all. You can find differences that the publisher didn't even notice when they made the pictures, and bringing that skill set and being able to write that larger and make it about producing the show, it's not just this thing is off and her hair was different in the previous scene. It's things that are story continuity, and shouldn't we, and he was in that room, shouldn't we be bowing to the person? And that was the thing that I saw that you brought. So there actually is a really nice, the skill set that you honed, I think, as a props person, this natural talent that you had, that you honed as a props person, made you very set up for producing. But, like, how does, you talked about it a little bit with Melissa bringing over, but, like, how does that kind of full transition happen for you, going from the Vince Gilligan cinematic universe into now you're a producer?
Yeah. Again, I think Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul made me a better prop person, but my brain does work that way, weirdly. It's annoying. They call me Eagle Eyes on set, which I'm like, I'm sure it pisses them off a lot of times because I'm the one who'll be like, no, 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 no. Like, that's not right. And this is, and they're like, how the fuck do you see that? But yeah, I just that's just how my brain works, and I have this photographic memory, and I don't know if props got me there, but it's just something that came naturally to me where I can look at something and then we can move on from it and come back and I'm like, "No, that painting was over there and her hand was left," and it might also come from standing in because as a stand-in you have to mimic the actress or
Right.
or a good stand-in does anyway, not all stand-ins, but if you do it correctly, you really have to do, she starts with her right foot and she puts her left hand out and like it
Yeah.
really takes all of that. So I think, they always entrusted me on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, one because I had been there from the start to the finish, that I could remember stuff that we shot on season 2 on Breaking Bad, and then, and on season 5 saying, oh, he's going to that cabinet for a mug, but in episode 2 on season 2, he used that cabinet for the mug. Those kind of things always stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
So I always, doing props would call that out, and I think that people started to notice that. And then, we shot El Camino, and we were shooting season 4 of Better Call Saul. But on El Camino, that's when I had mentioned to Melissa Bernstein that, I'm interested in learning more, and was interested in maybe shadowing her on a project. And then when we started the next season of Saul, she called me. I was ready to gear up for props. I was, we were about a month out from starting prep, and I'm getting my brain wrapped around the props of it all. And she called me and said, look, one of our co-producers, on-set producers, is moving on to another show, and I'm wondering if you wanted to take over for her.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, I had like a mass panic attack, and I was like, I said shadow you. I didn't say I wanted to like jump in on this, And she's like, look, it's everything that you're doing now in the prop department, just more. It's just you're going to deal with more people. And, when I was in the prop department, I also, you deal a lot with costumes, and it's a team. Like, if you're not able to work together, it's no good. Like,
Right.
I should be able to go to the costume person and say, hey, her shirt was out on this one, or tucked, or here's her purse and it was on her right side, and, all those things. Like, it really is a team effort, and I like bringing the team together, and I think that's what makes me a better producer. I've also had
But did it give you, I don't know, I understand hey, that's wrong, or that's the wrong cabinet, but was it scary a little bit, whether you were, forgive me, whispering in Melissa's ear or having to say to Vince or whatever? And obviously you knew him and you'd known him for
Yeah,
years, whatever, but to kind of go, hey, story-wise, I think we're missing an opportunity. Like, she hates him, and I feel like we're not getting that hate. Because remember, again, I'm extrapolating. I'm making something up that doesn't necessarily exist. But it's
yeah,
like your memory, whatever's coming back to you from from some previous story point that maybe they're not focusing in on. But to be able to say to somebody who is the creator or is the writer and go, I think you're missing their hate or whatever it is. Was that nerve wracking? It felt okay. It felt like an
yeah.
extension of what you were doing. Okay. Wow.
No,
Cool.
it came easy to me, and I've actually had directors actually approach me after I took on the producing job and said, there's just this ease about you. Other producers can come to ask us a question, and they don't get that. Where I seem to have a knack, and I'm speaking for myself, but that I find really the best opportunity to do that,
Well,
and how to bring it up.
you're not coming at them on attack. You're not mad at them for
Yeah,
missing it, but you're
it's just a
trying to bring
conversation.
it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Cool.
I think that, people see that they like it, it's
Right.
helpful, and they wanna hear that stuff. It's better to hear it now than think about it later, when you're
Well, sure.
already
You're in an edit room and
finished.
it's like, we completely
Why don't we
"Oh,
forgot
have
that there's
yeah.
oh,
no,
shit,
yeah,
why
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
this,"
yeah.
or someone then remembers like, "Oh, yeah, she shouldn't be there because she was here at this point," and again, that's where really being a team, all of us together, it makes for a better show. It
Yeah.
really does. Yeah, and I think, again, with the props and the acting and stunts, I learned how to talk to people. I
Sure.
mean, with the props, I had to approach the director and say, "Which do you like?" Or, "How do you wanna play this? What page do you want it?" I had to be able to talk to people, as well as be able to talk to the actor, because you're in their face. They're gonna be constantly asking you questions. "Well, how does this work? What pocket?" You have to be
But to go one
able
step
to.
further, and again, it's not every prop, obviously, but there are certain props that are so important to the story, or whether what we're going to see or not going to see, that in a way you're kind of going, what is this scene about? Is this scene about this can? And if it is, then this is important. But if it's really not, then it's not. But even though it's a prop, you are what's the scene about? And I do think
Yeah.
that that is important in a
Absolutely,
really
and you're
interesting way.
building
Yeah.
the world for the actor, so to make it really more realistic, they should have all those things.
Right.
I was always really good, was Melissa always said that she loved about me too, is like, I didn't just take the script and or the, call sheet and say, "Okay, these are the props that's listed, that's all I need." I went beyond that and
Right.
thought beyond it and said, "Okay, let's see. She's just finished from the doctor's office, and she had a blood test, and she da 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 da,
Right,
and
so
now
we might
she's
need a
going,
Band-Aid on her arm or and
what did
maybe
she do
yeah.
there? It's beyond that. And that, again, that's the fun part of the job. Like, yeah, I can easily come in and read a call sheet and read the sides and just do the very basic what's on the page. But the fun part is creating and thinking about it. Like, where's she coming from? Where is she going? Yeah, what's happening in the scene? What's important? What
When
should
you
she have?
when you got over to the UK for Dragon, did you ever get a little jealous of the props that you weren't getting a chance to do those props? I
Oh,
mean, I know
absolutely.
you were kind of coming in a different way, but, like, did that itch, did you wanna, "Can I just go, get a little
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, now that we have this family here that I've been working with for the last 20 years, I'm known as the producer who kind of jumps in, and if a chair needs to be moved, I'm gonna move the chair. Like, why not? Or if they're calling for set dressing to do something or clean something or move something and they're not right there, I'll jump in and move it. Like, I'm like.
I think that depends very much on the city you're in, because if you try
Yeah,
and move a
it could
chair in New York
it could
City, you're gonna get your arm broken, but
It
yeah.
could piss a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
other sets off. These guys know me and they love that about me, but it was a little difficult for House of the Dragons because, of course, I wanted to be more hands-on, but I had to, like, don't touch it, Trina. Like, stand back, let them do their thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just also say, like, this is not something that comes innately with, being a great props person, but Trina also has a really great story sense. So when you're, it's that thing about being able to dig into that deeper level of not just like the pencil's in the wrong place, but like, hey, in the, the previous scene, her that Knight of the Kingsguard that was supposed to be so loyal to her, dumped her. Shouldn't she be carrying, this something,
Right.
some emotional baggage going into the next scene, and seeing that and be able to track that, season wide. It's just, it's not, it definitely is. You do have this kind of, wiring in your brain that leads to some of that, but then there's other things that just, there are other innate talents that wouldn't necessarily be, awoken by being a props person that, doing what you do now allows you to be great at. And it was just, I always felt like I could, the great thing about having Trina on set, I always felt when she was there, I could like give a note and then like walk away and trust that the note would whatever the note was, I can always walk away and trust that not only would the note happen, but the note would be thought about and then carried through the rest, like however that the trickle down of that note
So
would carry through the
you
scene.
felt confident that you could give that note and then go walk away and steal some props, and that
Correct.
while you were taking things
Yes.
from the prop department,
Right. So
that note would be dealt with.
Trina would
Yeah.
call the props team onto set to deal with the note.
Lure them away, lure them
I would be
out. Yeah.
rifling through their trunks and
Yeah.
stuffing. I have special Dragon Eggs pants that I wear. They're extra wide, stretchy cargo pants, and I could get
And then
6 or
you go
7 of them.
back to set and they go, "Good news, Ryan, we fixed whatever." And you go, "What?" And then
Yeah.
they go, "Oh, right, my note, of course."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What
Okay,
show
good.
is this?
Yeah.
I would go into the other sound stages as well, other shows. Harry Potter wands. I have everything.
Yeah.
Trina, we usually play a game at the end
Okay.
of these where we usually something around a movie that we've discussed. But I think for this case, because you worked on Breaking Bad for so long, I think we
Well, can I ask one baby last little
oh
question?
yeah.
Eventually, the Breaking Bad stuff, and I believe the Better Call Saul stuff did go to auction eventually. The assets
Oh right, yeah.
were sold off. Were you, as the former prop person, involved in that in any way? No, that was already after you had moved
Oh,
on.
that was
I was
a
just
Sony.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
I
I
was
knew.
involved by saying, like, "Holy shit, that little note that I wrote with my handwriting went for
Right.
$200,000?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
Fair enough. Yeah.
regret and
that was
anger.
my
Yeah.
involvement.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. Sorry, back to the game, Ryan. Sorry.
So yes,
Yeah.
no, instead of doing Breaking Bad. I mean, unless Dave, you want to do Breaking Bad, I
No,
was
I feel
just
like
going
we
to ask.
talked about some of the good
Right.
props from Breaking Bad already. So yeah.
Yeah. But I was going to ask Trina, do you have a favorite movie?
Like, that I've
Not
worked on
no,
or
no,
just
No,
seen
anything,
them?
like
your
you're like
favorite all-time movie, as a
as
Oh gosh, that's
someone with
child,
him.
as your
it's such a tough
inspiration.
one.
I
It's
know.
such a tough one because, someone else asked me this a few weeks ago about if there was something that came up on the TV that you would always click on if it was on. And this is crazy. I mean, I have so many good ones from like Caddyshack, of course, is classic and I love, but Time Bandits.
All right.
That's a
Time
great movie.
Bandits, I just love so much, and if it's ever on, I will click on it and watch it, and it's like, yeah, I
Let's
love
do
it.
it.
I love it.
Did you, by the way, did you guys watch the trailer for the new one? I guess I think it's a TV series
No
on, I
way,
think
they're
it's,
doing a new one?
yeah, it's Taika
Oof.
Waititi. I believe it's for Apple. It's similar but different, but I laughed. I mean, I looked
Okay.
like I
No,
looked like
I wasn't even
I
aware.
definitely was wary, and I went, nope, I'm gonna count because I'm a huge fan, and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm good for this. I'll
yeah,
watch
they better
this.
not screw it
Yeah.
up. They better not screw it up.
I have no idea, but I can tell you the trailer made me laugh, and I was
But
like,
All
that is
right.
one
I'll
of
check
those
this
things
out.
that I
Yeah.
always said, "You know what? I'm
Yeah.
surprised they haven't remade that yet." Yeah. That one and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which
Ah, yes.
I
Oh,
wouldn't put on the top of my, like, my but it is one of my
a
favorites
fond
from
memory. Yeah.
childhood. Yeah,
I
and
I
I'm
love that
actually
one.
very shocked that they haven't remade that one.
That is a key kind of low hanging fruit thing. I
Yeah,
think that's from that period of Disney that they prefer to not
forget.
acknowledge exists. But
Oh, but
but
it's so
um
good.
but yeah, the movie's great.
Yeah,
I'm a big
That sort
fan.
of 70s live action
Yeah,
period
yeah,
that
the
they were
the
doing.
the
Yeah.
the action animation mix, and
yeah,
it's sort of doing Mary Poppins, but it's not Mary Poppins.
exactly, and all the what we can do with that with animation and stuff, it just seems like a no-brainer that
Yeah.
that would be something that they would,
Well,
you
let's
know
set it up. Let's the three of us just
I'm
set it
in.
up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go to Disney, make it happen. All right,
Yeah.
So
so
if you
Trina,
could
what
have, yeah, if you
anything
could have any prop, costume, anything from Time Bandits, what's your dream?
I mean, I think it kinda has to be the scroll, right? Like,
The map, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the map. Yeah.
Allegedly in the possession of George Harrison, or at least one of them. I don't know if that's
Oh,
true
huh.
or not. Yeah, producer
alright.
of
Maybe
the
I can trade him for the pink
handmade
teddy bear.
films. And if
Yeah.
you would, the pink teddy bear or that note, might make another note,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. I don't know if that's true. That's what I know. I don't know. And I don't know if there was more than one, but certainly at least I was told he has one of
There
them.
better have been
Yeah.
more than one as a
Yeah,
prop
I would think
person.
so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I bet there weren't a lot of them. I mean, I bet it was an
probably not.
expensive thing to make, and it was
Yeah,
not a huge high budget movie. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Dave.
I'm lucky enough. I have a couple of pieces from Time Bandits in my collection, which I love. I have Sean Connery's helmet.
What?
I have the potion of like poison that they pour into the cauldron. I have a skull that they use to smash into the evil world, and somewhere I have like one of the little photos that's on his bulletin board. So I have a couple of things from it. I've been
What?
really lucky to find those
Oh,
pieces.
I'm so jealous.
Um,
That's amazing.
Obviously, look, I would love the map as well, but in a world of you've already chosen the map, I would take Evil's costume in a second. That whole just like with the headdress and whatever, or some version of one of the crazy, which I can assume are models, maybe when he transforms and turns into those various, like when he balloons up to kind of
Yeah,
attack.
yeah, yeah.
Some of that stuff looks like it's maybe models, so something like that. But Evil's costume would be really, really cool. Or Napoleon's gold hand, where they pull
Oh,
the hand out and unscrew the hand and they
that's
kind
a
of
good
go,
one.
I knew it, and take it.
Yeah.
That would be pretty fun too. Yeah. So those would be for me.
Um,
Ryan, how about
all
you?
right, guys, I have a terrible, embarrassing
You've never
confession to
seen it.
make.
You've never seen it.
I've missed it. I'm
Oh
of
my
course
god.
aware of it, and I've seen things, and it was on TV and trailers, and I can imagine, the little people running around, running from evil, I think, but I've
Mhm.
actually never seen it. And I bought it came out, it was, I think Criterion
Criterion. Yep.
actually did beautiful 4K restoration. So I own that. And my hope was actually to show it to my children and to have us all experience it at the same time. But then some people told me that like you will damage your children if you show them Time
No,
Bandits.
you
So
will not
I
damage
need
them,
I
but
need
you
you to
need to
weigh in.
wait. You need to wait a little bit, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think
a
it's
few
Is
more
there
eight
yet.
years.
okay? Is 8 okay,
What grade
or
is 8 these days?
so
Sorry.
third and first grade essentially?
I think I saw it in 4th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I understood all the Monty Python humor, but I did
No.
really like it when I saw it
Okay.
in 4th grade. So I guess I would say at least give it another year for the oldest.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
agree.
Yeah.
And they
Okay.
probably won't get all the jokes,
Yeah.
which is probably better, but
Okay.
so
Fair.
definitely, yeah.
Fair. Fair.
So
She
give it a
has
little
seen
time.
Temple of Doom though, so
Yeah.
Which
Of
is
course.
scary, but dare I say simpler. Good guys,
Okay.
bad guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Different
Yeah,
scary.
there's a lot of not in a bad way, but there's a lot of fast talk and some big depressing topics that aren't just evil. There's good and evil, but there's also
Yeah.
the mundaneness of suburban UK life. I mean,
Okay.
that I'm not quite sure will land in the same way. Anyway,
Well, maybe
yeah,
they
yeah,
live there.
maybe,
So,
yes, no, that's true.
yeah.
So who knows? Yeah.
No.
And the problems of UK internet. But no, it's
Lord.
I think give it a little time, but
Okay.
you do need to watch it.
You do need to watch
it.
it.
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
in. That is, it is. It's just one of those that sort of I weave between the cones, and it never happened.
Yeah.
Trina, this was
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you so
so
much. This was wonderful. Really fun chatting. Yeah.
Thank you. Such a
The
blast.
stunt stuff is just, I mean, I know this is a prop show, but wow. Yeah.
Does your we always ask you have something to plug. Does your new show even have a title? It feels so secretive.
It's very secretive, and we
Okay.
pride ourselves on the secretive.
Very good.
No, we do not have a title yet.
Okay.
We're in code name, and yeah, we're trying to keep everything super on the down low until
Very
we're ready.
good. Very good. I love it. So at some point in the future, there will be a new Vince
show.
Gilligan series
Awesome.
That may or may
Trina-
not be shot in New Mexico, and that's all we
Yeah.
can say. Enjoy
Yeah.
it, everybody.
But enjoy it, and you should
Coming
watch. You
soon.
should totally watch.
Coming
yes.
soon.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely watch.
Yes, and watch Time Bandits, the new series, and the movie if you haven't, as I will be doing. But thank you, Trina. This was really great. Follow us at Props Podcast on all social channels. Write us at Dreams Are
Subscribe
Made
to
of.
our YouTube channel, please. There's
More
always,
people subscribing to our YouTube channel. We have
that seems to be
boom.
our hot moment there. Lots of unboxing videos, a whole bunch
So
of
dumb.
heritage and other auction previews and whatnot. So yeah, please come.
Yes. And write us at dreamsaremadeofpodcast@gmail.com and rate us, and we will see you next time.